Hi, so today we're going to have a look at Limut. We're going to have a look at the user interface. So we're not going to be looking at making music or visuals with it particularly. We're just going to be concentrating on the user interface elements and what it is and how it works. So first off, you can access it on the internet. I've got it uploaded on my GitHub pages at the moment. You can also run it locally. You can run it through Electron locally. It should work in most major browsers. Yeah, so let's look at the actual interface. There's a bar at the top, or a section at the top, which includes a level meter and an overall gain control for the whole system. There's beat readout, which gives you the current beat, and you can see it subdivided into, for example, 16 for four beat bars. And you can change those subdivisions as well if you want to from the code. Here we have a series of buttons. Play starts the code running, stop stops all code running. Any audio or visuals that are still in process, still running, still sounding, will continue to sound, but no new events will be generated. This is a shortcut button for commenting code in or out, but you can also use Control/, which is probably easier. Then there's a button to send the whole thing full screen. And you can use escape or toggle it again to bring it back from full screen. Then we have a series of meters here which show this sort of status of the system. So the audio is whether we're overloading the audio system and it's struggling to keep up. Visuals is similar for visuals, whether we're managing to keep a 60 frames a second rate going. And the limiter is the audio limiter. If we're hitting that, then the individual sounds are too loud and coming together too loudly, and we're hitting the limiter, which is probably compromising the overall quality. That's slightly separate than the overall level meter up here, which we'll get to. We'll get into these things in a bit more detail in a minute. So this section here is the main code, source code section. We'll look at how that works in a moment. Just below that is the console, which outputs useful messages, error messages, that kind of thing. It will also read out slider values, which can be useful if you want to take the current value of a slider and embed it directly into the code. At the bottom here is all the documentation. So I'm not going to go through all this in detail, but it does list out how the Limut syntax works. The section at the top here, though, is what we're going to have a little quick look at now. There's a series of examples. These can all just be cut and pasted, so you can just pick one, hit Control-C or copy, and then just paste into the source code section here. And then we've got a bunch of source code. This will do something. Yeah, let's run it and see what it does. So that's produced a sort of house music beat. And again, I'm not going to go through in detail everything that's happening in here. At the top you can see that the BPM, beats per minute, has been changed. So these beats are now updating at the rate of 125 beats a minute. The default is 110, but you get whatever is set in here. So one thing to note with Limut is there's no notion of running some code and not the rest. For example, if I select this one line and hit play, we still run all the code. So there's pluses and minuses to that. It's different to a lot of live coding systems. The advantage is that you just get whatever is in the source code here. So you don't have to worry about what thing did I run last, what state is it in, I set the BPM a while ago, what did I set it to? It's just dead simple. It's in the code, it's right there, you can just see exactly what you've got. So every time you run it, you just get what's there, which I think is quite straightforward. The downside is that I can't make a bunch of changes and then just update this line. So let's say I change this and stick a whole load of reverb on the bass. I can't then just run this line. If I run now, then I've also executed all the code, including this change I made to the bass here. So you just have to be aware of that. But there's plenty of opportunity to make changes like that. Let's say I wanted to do that change in a controlled way. One thing I could do actually is to do set B room equals 2. So this is now setting an override. So B is the name of the bass player, and this is saying set the bass player B set its rum parameter to 2. So if I run this code, then we've got the reverby, echoey bass again, but I can just comment that out. And that was just, I just hit Command/ there to comment that out, but it works just as well with this button. But with it commented out, we're back to the original room value. So you can actually, with a single line commenting in or out, you can actually quite quickly make significant changes and in quite a controlled way without losing necessarily the original value you had set. So let's say I want to take out have a little breakdown section and take out the bass and the percussion, then I can just comment those out and hit the appropriate time in the music. So what I did there is I was watching this readout here. As it counted up towards 32, I knew that was going to be the end of an 8-bar section, and that would be a good time to make a change. So for example, if I comment these back in and then do the update when this says 32, then it's going to come back in at the beginning of a bar. Okay, so I think we've covered a fair bit there. Now this isn't stressing the system too much, so we can see the audio is green, there's no audio processing lag, there's no visual processing lag, we haven't really got any visuals on anyway. And then the limiter, we're not hitting the limiter at all. What we can also see here is the overall level. We've got quite a bit of headroom here. We're still very much in the green. So we can adjust this 2 ways. One way is to adjust this slider here. So we can bring that up, and you can see we're now hitting towards the top of this. One thing you can see, especially if I take it a bit higher, I'm going to have to shout now. So one thing you can see is that the whole bar is occasionally flashing pink, and that's telling you that we're actually exceeding the levels for the system output. Now on some operating systems, in some cases that might not limit as cleanly as it does here, and you might actually get some glitches, crackling, distortion, that kind of thing when that happens. So I'll put that roughly back in the middle. There's another way of changing the overall output gain as well, which is to set main.amp. So that defaults to 1, but if I set that to 2, then you can see we've now brought that level up again, and the same if I bring it up to 3. Okay, so I think so I just hit the stop button there, which was Control Dot. I think that covers everything we need to know for the basics of the interface. So yeah, thanks.